Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic. And that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to hit the like button. It is a free and easy way to support the channel. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. There's a link in the description below. Welcome back for another non-stop good news video. I don't know what it is about our market where we constantly have a never-ending avalanche of good news all the time. It's a little weird, I will admit, because it keeps happening and it's been going this way over the course of multiple years. That's why I said before in other videos, I legitimately don't get how people could be negative or bearish about this market. I think it comes from having been in the market for a while. I think you just kind of, take it for what it is or how the market is reacting on any given day. But if I ever see anyone negative on the market, I find it extremely weird. And I'll even squish that a little bit closer. If anyone's ever negative or bearish on Bitcoin or a specific amount of altcoins, I find it a little odd, and I don't know if it's just like mental manipulation because we keep getting insanely good news. At the top of the charts today, this should be surprising, but it also shouldn't be, because we keep hearing stuff like this all the time. I need to know explicitly why people within crypto don't react to this news. I'm going to show you some stuff. You're going to notice a pattern, and it seems like the only things that people actually pay attention to is anything that might be negative and or simply revolving around prices going down. I can't imagine myself, I cannot imagine myself getting news like this every day and having any kind of a weird negative long-term sentiment about the market, like not understanding where all this stuff is really going. Yeah, the Bank of Montreal, the BMO, has submitted documents to the US SEC on Thursday, revealing that the Bank of Montreal is holding $150 million US dollars in Bitcoin ETF shares. I will repeat that one more time. The Bank of Montreal, in a slew and a gigantic pot of other banks and companies and institutions, has announced that they are officially holding $150 million US dollars worth of Bitcoin ETF shares. Even crazier is that we keep getting news like this all the time. That's what when I said, like, I'm a little confused. How we can hear this news all the time and there's still people who are like, well, Bitcoin's down by 2% today. It's not really doing anything. It's like, what planet is everyone living on? Unless I am the most delusional person in the universe right now. You know that Bitcoin is going to $1 million, right? I can't be the only. You think all this accumulation is for nothing? You think this is a joke? You think that these companies and these world banks are choosing not to invest in their local currency or their local country or their local companies, and they're choosing to invest in Bitcoin in any form or fashion, and you think the market's not going anywhere? It's the weirdest thing. We get news like this so often, it's actually annoying to hear about it. I mean, completely honest with you. If we got news like this in 2016, 2017, we'd be at a $3 million Bitcoin. That is not a fake number. They are actively accumulating all the Bitcoin that's on the market. Do you understand what the significance of submitting documents to the SEC is about all of this? For those of you who do not know or have forgotten, last year, around this same time, but this was around March and April. Do you remember what happened? We started hearing about other world banks, other central banks who had filed with the SEC because they were holding a US-based securitized product. Remember when we heard, this isn't even the Bank of International Settlements thing. From them, we heard that a dozen central banks were actively holding Bitcoin, not even the freaking ETFs. We heard and saw from a number of SEC filings that these companies and banks wanted to keep this a secret, but they could not because they had to file with the US SEC. A number of people within the cryptocurrency space were scouring through the SEC's website, and they were like, did you see that this company also owns $80 million worth of Bitcoin? And the thing that really drove me insane were the amount of people who were downplaying the news. I don't know if, once again, if they're Bitcoin lovers who were trying to, not set off all the alarms to let other people know that the revolution was happening. I don't know if they really were obsessed with some particular altcoin and they were simply like, no big deal. When we heard that central banks and a dozen other companies had secretly bought hundreds and millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, the main news around that time, was not one of excitement. It was of people being like, well, it's only $80 million. Do you remember that news? And I showed you a couple of articles, but I stopped going through them because they were making me angry. We had a couple of days where the inflows to the Bitcoin ETFs was $185 million. The next day, if that inflow was 118 million, the news was, well, it's not as much as it was the day before. Is Bitcoin losing its spark? You just heard that the Bank of Montreal has $150 million worth of Bitcoin ETFs. They have exposure to Bitcoin. And I assume only 4 of you, 1, 2, 3, and a 4, probably actually understand the significance of this. That's what keeps bothering me about this market. Canada's third largest bank in assets under management purchased $139 million of BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin ETF and distributed the remaining $11 million among 3 other ETFs. The US SEC requires institutional investment managers with over $100 million in asset management to file Form 13F-HR. That also just lets me know that there are a bunch of other companies who have some of the ETFs and they're not obligated to file. The Bank of Montreal, Canada's third largest bank, has invested $150 million into Bitcoin ETFs. The bank submitted Form 13F-HR to the US SEC, revealing that it had quietly purchased $139 million of Bitcoin from BlackRock. Even crazier, this filing is old. I can't imagine what's actually happening. This filing is from the 13th of January, and we're just hearing about it now. That's what I was saying before. We heard from these companies. These people on Twitter were like, did anyone see this? Like, people literally had to dig through the SEC's filings to figure out exactly who was holding what. And we kept on finding out weeks and months later. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm actually at a loss of words, and that doesn't happen because I can talk and I can talk and I can talk. I'm actually at a loss of words because I don't know what hope there is for retail investors and so many people who are in this space who just don't understand what's actually taking place in front of them. You know that Bitcoin's going to $1 million, right? You know that Bitcoin's going to be around when your grandkids have grandkids. And Bitcoin's going to several $1 million per coin. You understand that Bitcoin's made for you, for the people, and all of it is being purchased by the people who run the old system. They're preparing for the future where they continuously are the ones with money and the ones with wealth. It's all lined out right in front of you. And I find it so weird when people don't get it, or they rush into meme coins, or it actually boggles the mind. I'm being 1,000% serious. It's the weirdest thing in the world. If we had heard that one bank a decade ago had even looked in Bitcoin's direction, people would have gone crazy. There's probably over 100 like huge banks, not like a local corner banks that are holding billions of dollars in assets under management. Probably 100 of them on the planet who own Bitcoin in some sort of way, directly or indirectly. And very few people in crypto are even batting an eye or care that it's happening. All of it's very odd, my friends. Very, very, very odd. That's the Bank of Montreal news. Moving along. Also in news that was not popular, Barclays is a gigantic bank. Barclays has disclosed a $131 million investment into BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. Another gigantic bank has announced that they know what Bitcoin is, and they spent $131 million on it. Barclays has officially joined the ranks of major financial institutions investing in Bitcoin ETFs, and no one cares. In their latest 13F filing with the US SEC, the UK bank disclosed the purchase of 2.4 million shares into the iShares Bitcoin Trust, known as IBIT, valued at $131 million as of the end of the year. The acquisition took place during the fourth quarter, spanning October to December. We're just getting the filing information for it now. How much more have they been buying? By the end of last year, I think the ETFs had just over 1 million Bitcoin. The last we heard was 1.3 something million Bitcoin. I feel like I'm going insane. I feel like my mind can't actually grab onto reality anymore because nothing is making sense. Between people not saving any money, no money on the side, no idea that the future is going to happen, no preparation for the future, no investments. How many people do you know have no investments? You know how stupid that is? You know how impossible it is to not invest in something in 2025? You can invest in gold. You can invest in Charizard cards. You can invest in ETFs, stocks, mutual funds. You can invest in government bonds that will give you 4, 5, 6, 7%. To invest in nothing is nearly psychotic. You know how many people don't have any investments? I don't understand what's going on. I just watched the video and it was about people, I mean, whatever. I'm not going to even get into it. It was about people who had either lost their jobs recently or some other thing. And they were talking to people in their 40s and 50s. And some of these people were crying on camera. They were like, I have nothing left. We don't have any more money. And I was like, you never thought when you were 25 years old that it's time to start saving, to start putting money away? You had nothing in your brain that said, I make this amount of money per month. Let me put some away so that in the event of an emergency, I have 6 months to a year to be able to live without having to panic. You see all this stuff happening with Bitcoin and people sit there and they go, well, the price isn't moving. The price went down. You sound dumb. You sound incredibly uneducated. I can't imagine how much rich people are laughing right now. Think about it. It's genius. They're doing everything in their power to shuffle around money to buy up every single last fragment of Bitcoin. You are in this market. You were probably in this market before them. Have you taken advantage of it? Have you at all looked into any of the crap that we've been talking about over the last year and a half and 3, 4, 5? I've had this channel for almost 10 years. How few of you actually paid attention to anything? Did you buy Ether when I told you it was $7? Did you get into XRP when it was less than 1 cent? January 2017, I already had the channel. Bitcoin wasn't at $1,000. How many of you right now are still not paying attention? You hear this news daily. What will convince you that you're being left behind? Is it the year 2035 when you're watching TV and you see that Bitcoin's at $17 million? You go, well, at least I bought Pepe coin and, Tron's going to do something. Tron's going to, I'm telling you guys, it's going to come back. What aren't you getting? Like, what's not clicking in your mind right now that you keep squandering these opportunities? Over and over and over. How many people left the market a week ago? Remember how I told you before, I can always tell when prices are going down because I look at my views over the course of a week and a month on my analytics and I can see them, I can see interest waning. Because you don't actually care about making money for the long term. Your mind is so set on today I'm not rich, crypto's boring, I'm going to look away. You're not meant for these markets. You're not meant to make money. You're not meant to be rich. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Do you understand this opportunity? Do you understand what it even means for there to be consideration by the United States of America to even think of accumulating 1 Bitcoin? If they only purchased 1, the symbolism is insane. We're talking about the US potentially trying to accumulate 1 million Bitcoin. If they purchased 1 a day, the significance is crazy. That's money that could have gone into strengthening the US dollar. You just heard Barclays and the Bank of Montreal have invested over $100 million into Bitcoin. And I know mathematically there's some of you sitting here, you don't give a fudge. You don't give 2 craps because you think it doesn't affect you in some sort of way. It's always when it's too freaking late. That's when you care. That's when you pay attention. That's when it means something to you. Why am I not rich? It's not fair. Things aren't working out for me. What have you done in the last 10 years to actively make sure that today you're rich? What have you done? How many times do I always say that? I have all these people who I tried helping, and it's not even coaching, who I gave advice to. you should look into buying this. You should look into buying that. Have you thought about getting some property? It's still pretty cheap here. Have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about doing that? Have you thought about doing this? And they go, nah. And I look at them 10 years later and I have conversations with them and they sit there and they go, yeah, money's tight, man. I don't know how. Oh, wow, it's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It totally, yeah. You know how devastated I would be if over the last 10 years I hadn't done everything that I did to make my life better? If you missed any of my other videos over the course of the last 2 years, I hunkered down. I'm not flashy on purpose. Understand. I did what I had to do. I didn't treat myself. I didn't go overboard. I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was saving my money. I was investing nonstop the last 10 to 15 years. This is, if you hadn't seen my other channel, this is how I'm able to travel. I travel all the time. Because I saw the opportunity, not even just in crypto, but in multiple different assets. And I was like, okay, let's do this. Because I knew that 10 years was going to breeze by. The concept of like waiting 10 years for people is insane. The idea of not living your best life right now and spending all your money is all that people want to do. No one actually, you want to get rich by doing nothing. The idea of having to wait a year is devastating to people. It's almost too much. What are you asking me to wait a year? Have you ever seen that thing before? I forgot exactly what it's called, but it's this idea. They ask people, do you want $100 immediately right now? Or do you want to wait a day for $110 or $115? Most people take the 100 that day. I need the money right now. But in many of these cases, like if you actually extrapolate on it, they say if you had waited 10 days, it would have been this amount of money. This is why no one invests. Or the only people who are investing are the people who have money because they see how money grows when you already have money. Did you miss the video? This was about a month ago where I showed you on screen that 88% of the stock market is owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. 88%. Because the last 20 years, they've done nearly everything in their power to accumulate the entirety of the stock market. And then you sit there and go, that's not fair. Yeah, it's not fair. But guess who paid attention 20 years ago? Now, I'm not talking to anyone who's like 21, you were a baby, got it. But for everyone else out there, that's why it bothers me so much whenever I hear friends or family members being like, I'm broke. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're 45, you're 55. But what are you missing? You had all this time. Like really hyper congratulations to you for those of you who are still here, who stick it out. I mean, this isn't a joke. I mean that explicitly. Congratulations to you for having resolve and strength, for understanding that you're doing what you need to do to have money in the future. It drives me up the wall to get news like this every single freaking day, dude. And to not have people in crypto care. You care when Larry Fink stands on a stage and says, I'm richer than you. You go, yeah, you are. You're awesome. You care when these people tell you, hey, look, we're getting into Bitcoin. Yeah, oh my gosh, I love it. And when they buy some and the price doesn't rise, you fold your arms and you pout. What a scam. What's happening? Well, how can this possibly be? Over and over and over and over and over. I have my level of remorse has fallen so much in the last couple of years. Because I assumed when I was younger, listen, this is real. When I was younger and I saw problems on TV or problems that adults had around me, I thought that they were going to resolve them. This isn't a joke. If you know that you're going broke, and as a kid, you see the spending habits of people around you. She keeps saying she's broke, but she's buying this every day. She's doing that every day. She's spending money on that every single day. She's buying clothes that she doesn't need. Well, if you stop doing those things, no, I don't want to stop. I want to live my life. Okay, guess what? Look how old you are now. You're broke. So many things that if you don't know this about me, so many things, the way that I live my life is a literal example of everything that I heard when I was younger. When I was 18, I had a friend who had a dad, and one time I was at their place for dinner. I told you this story before. The dad told me a story that shook me to I was 18, shook me to the core. He told me that back in the 70s, he was into, I think it was the gold and silver market, and he was making bank. He was making so much money. He said he was waking up in the morning, shaking his wife to wake up, and he was like, you want to go to Hawaii first class? Bam, they were flying nonstop. He said, and according to our inflation money that we have now, he was making bazank. He was making money, not like, oh, he's making six figure. He was making money. The gold market at some point began to fall. He didn't really care, kept on spending. He looked, he had nothing in his bank account, he told me. The gold and silver market had collapsed. It wasn't as popular as it was before, blah, 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 so and so and so. He sat there at dinner. I remember this man's face. He sat there at dinner and was like, now I live in this house that we're renting from my wife's father. And I was like, damn. I was 18 years old. And I remember the look on this man's face as he recalled his life, jet set life, and how happy and rich he was. He said he didn't save anything. He saved nothing. There was nothing in his mind that told him the future was going to happen. He just simply believed in that moment. When I was younger, I had a family member tell me, and this isn't a joke, that they used to go outside. I forgot when it was. Sometime around winter time, and this would blah, 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 blah. And they have terrible knees, terrible, horrible knee pain. So I wear long johns the moment it gets cold. I have no knee pain. I make sure to also eat turmeric because it helps with inflammation, and all these other knee problems and like arthritis that you could potentially have. Everything I do, when I listen to my music, when I walk down the street, when I listen to a podcast, my volume is never higher than 10 to 15% of the maximum. So, 0 to like 100 being the max, mine is always at 15%. I took some of those tests that only so if for those of you who don't know, the older you get, obviously the worse your hearing gets because people blast music into their ears. I took one of those tests that only like 20-year-olds and like to 25-year-olds, like there's like certain frequencies that only young people can hear. I can still hear it because I'm taking care of myself, because I want, if I'm lucky enough to be around in the future, I want to still have mobility. I want my knees to work. I want my joints to work. I eat fruits and vegetables. I only drink water and tea. Because I listened to everything that these people told me when I was younger. I looked at the sadness on their faces of them being like, I can't walk right. My arms hurt. I have bursitis. I'm broke. I'm sad. That's why I was like, okay, something has to change. I grew up in poverty. I grew up broke. I was like, no. There's no way that I can go. There's no way that I would ever want to go back to that. I know what poverty looks like. I know what being poor looks like. I know what being kicked out of your apartment. We were kicked when I was a kid. We were evicted from my memory at least 4 times. 4 that I remember. I remember coming home, seeing the yellow slip on the door, and then being like, we gotta go. You have all the chances in the world sitting in front of you, and you are doing jack diddly squat because you don't care, because you want money now. You want to be rich in this moment. You want to show off to your friends. I told you that last cycle. I said so many of you are going to make big money in this cycle, and you're not going to care. You're going to spend all of it as fast as humanly possible. How many of you have a plan? Not only, and I mean a plan. If you take profit, how are you going to retire early? It's a nice little dream in your mind to say, yeah, I'm going to, yeah. But how are you going to do it? Do you know what assets you're going to buy? Don't start a company, FYI. That's always the number one biggest thing. I think 85% of companies fail within their first year. Do you know what to buy? Do you know how to actually invest in something? You want property. Do you know how to look at a property to determine that it's actually right to buy? That you're not being scammed, that it doesn't need extra work? What are you doing to prepare for the future? This goes much farther than just one bank buying crypto. What are you doing for yourself for the future? What are you learning? What are you looking at? It's so crazy. I don't understand. I assumed for years that people would take this information, hear all the stuff happening in crypto, and they would use it to their benefit. And then people leave the market and people get scared and people get frustrated. And it's like, what are you doing? It wasn't meant to be a ranty video at all. But my frustration is at the top of the charts because so many of you don't know what you are missing out on. You're missing all the clues that are right in front of you. It's like solving a puzzle that has like 4 pieces and you can't put them together. What do you think they're all buying up all these coins for? I hope you got something out of the video. I hope you all have a great day. Hope you all enjoy yourself, whatever you're doing. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. I'll talk to you all soon. See you.